Atisha Sugar Karisheva de Lana, Rashing and Biki, Semje, that is Anachik, Turodu, and Dedla, Nitsuvocomiata, Jabata, Nijocom, Concures, Ne Delia, Neja, Jabatimba, Carsenbe, Gineva, Rimuchineva, Nashinji, and then Chick Kaushu, and Jeche Hores, and Dinashi, never Nyamda, the Digi, and it is Tondu. The Solia and the Chick Jabati, Delia, Jambata, Nishicom, and Detsuya, and contribute to her Sierra, Rochelia, and Chick Gama, Yubina, Gama Tando Lenche, Gama Dunga Talinki Sevocom, Andushin Roche, what is the Jacob Gimjan Garelamna, that the Nijabana, Susuralia, and Sivicom, Sivian, Jamini, Yamichi, Copia, Yapura, Yes, I never think of him saying, on to creation, the issue of the divorce.
This morning we spoke about the great. We spoke about the need to train our minds in the ways that have been mentioned here repeatedly over a sustained period, so that just like a bodhisattva, when we encounter people whose nature is very harsh, who are overwhelmed by the afflictions and, as we see in the text, negative energy and intense suffering, that in dependence on our prior training, then naturally love and compassion for this kind, precious mother being arises. Love and compassion for this being, who in dependence on, we experience all our comforts and we are accumulating virtue. That will ensure our lives will be of great meaning. So with such a joyous attitude, when you meet a person, even when they are negative and overwhelmed by their afflictions, then we'll be able to our mind will be able to remain spacious and calm due to the presence of love and compassion. Then under the influence of wisdom, be able to respond in a skillful manner.
소소라랑게 판도 친구 제어도 되게 제겐 판도 제세미디기 만솔이야는 아니 지금 안델이야 그지 사비야게 sab리야 아니 지금 여바 기바 있나 안델이야 아니 삼각한 스탄고르에 제디 거셔셔와.
Now we'll continue with the text immediately, and the next verse then is in relation to those whom we have benefited greatly, those who we have grown close to perhaps, that we have seen as a friend, that we've trusted, but then in response they turn against us and harm us. When someone I have benefited and in whom I've placed great trust hurts me very badly, I'll practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher.
소수기 부글이야 배 제와체네 안에 멍어바다 롭장 야고차 다 미야고차에 레와 침부 제제 안에 소는 파마소서 강아치들 갑이야 안 소소한다 따도치에기도 달래 레와 침부 제양한 저기 파미기 경어셔야 되는 연구로와 제자 레와 강랑기 강라 랑기 판다베 레와 체와 가시기 되는 레와 제제 안 제야다 양 안냠네 바 가시기다 되는게 소소랑기 아다 콜이야 지게 로고체 야고체베나 안 코셈바 상고차다 뭐바데 미야고차에게 돈달라 안 지게 레와 침보체제네 지게 롭장 야고체에게 돈달이야 레와 침보체네 배 판도 주제 배 제와체 판도 제샤고지 연구로와 안 되네게 판도 지식이 미디기 땅아 중원이 전에 소소라야 판도 야고슈제 야고체베인자 파팅레 야고조 볼때 되네게 진레 야고 마죠와체 안에 가소레 델리아 진란주 찹라 안에 가소레 베네 수 안에 지게 야고 마셔가체 안데 뇌기야다 되는 균죄체야다 되는 뒤마성샤다 되는 균죄체야 초부제야라서 봐 되는 세반나서 Shindu Mirik New Chenang, Benegala, Gala, Dagi, Pantapi, Rewachewa, Gashi, Susu Rewachimbu, Jen Yahoyan, Rewach, Pando Javadi, Denian to Shindu Mirik New Cheva, Sosola Nevikivaina, and Sigurda Delia Samakarestan, Reza Shigurwa.
The fourth and fifth verse, there were illustrations of how a bodhisattva deals with difficulties that they receive when encountering others, such as when others are jealous towards them or criticize them or scorn them. So there are people who act in such a way towards the bodhisattva. Could be acquaintances, it could be friends, it could be strangers, it could be anyone. But here in this sixth verse, it specifically refers to those with whom we have a close relationship with, and we can think perhaps of a parent and child. A parent, of course, invests so much into their care and upbringing of their child. But all too often, though, a child doesn't appreciate the kindness and the care that a parent has shown them. And of course, this happens in other relationships and friendships too. So here, this is an illustration about where we, as either as aspirant bodhisattvas or bodhisattvas themselves, those who have made great effort perhaps with their training and have done so in order to be of benefit to others, and then when engaging in beneficial acts towards others, others either immediately show no appreciation, show no gratitude, or once a relationship has been formed, later they turn against one. They talk badly about one, they talk behind one's back, betray one's confidence. And this is all, of course, completely contrary to what one would expect. So this is the meaning here in the sixth verse. When someone I have benefited and in whom I've placed great trust hurts me very badly, I'll practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher.
Denigi that Soso getting Yashaba Digi, Sosolia, and getting Jiren Jig, Sabla, Neva Mumbo, and Juba Zimbochi, Neva Kivaina, and Della Carchiorelana, and Delia, Jeva Jebe, Masi Yaure, some Jetel Jebati, and Damalia, Subin Yaminchia, Jamin Yamnichi, Coopra, Masi Yabu Kivishin, Nashin, and Kivishin, Nashin, Jen, and Tawore, Denigi some Tangore.
In brief then, when those in whom we've placed great trust, we have spoken openly to them, they've been a confidant to us, for example, and then they betray our trust, or they take advantage of us, manipulate us. Here we need to, once again, practice patience. And in addition to practicing patience, view them as like a spiritual teacher.
Givi Shin Najan Dabu Gimzen Garelabna, Givi Shin Ransolia, Subakumbi, Subig Yamlin Chetan de Lagur, Givi Shin Latine, Subig Yamlin Chetan de Shingor, Givi Shin Lava Latine, Yende, Jiang Shinguadi, Givi Shin Lava Latine, Shingorwa. Shingor de Inea. Subi Yamlin Chego, Winnie Yamlin Chedi, Givi Shin, Subi Yamlin Chesca, Chitu Maraji, Subi Shin, Ansola Jambuchi, Anso Lobsang Dorje, and then Delia Subo Comias Yoma, Comia. That's Subamos Comiadi, Sosolia, Novaki, Ganate, Tuhutan, Bendigo Joban, Della Subamos Comiadi, Uncores, Cezan Givi Shin, Ansolia, Casa Labji Horse, and Subo Comin Yamlin Chetata. Dima Song Dixing Goris. It's not Dixing by Nashing as a Subamos, Island, the Subi Yamidi, that Denigi Midiki, two yonder, and the Desolia didn't Subocomia Rawainza, and the Givishin research that will become the Tishigurwa.
Reason for seeing as a person such as this as being like one's spiritual teacher is the role of the spiritual teacher is to present to us this technique for cultivating patience, for training our mind in the practice of patience in a manner that is in accordance with our individual personalities and karmic predispositions. Then, in dependence on this training that we are receiving, we need to cultivate it, meditate in this way, cultivate this within us. But in order for our practice of patience to bear fruit, we need to encounter someone who acts in a way that is against our wishes, to act in a way that can lead to the rise of patience, the generation of patience. Our teacher is not that person. Our teacher is the one who imparts the knowledge to us in a skillful manner. At that time, we're not having to generate patience, we're not having to practice patience. So independence on having received training and put it into place, received teachings and trained in them, we require someone in relation to whom we can generate patience. And so for this reason, we consider the person as being like one's teacher.
안저 기회 신인을 때네 아 저게 최게 퇴 안퇴비 된다라 삼당 안디는 공잡지도 안저야 안은 냠면체 고급 약을 해야다 안은 아 저게 기회 자와 개치무 주야 안디 지금 거로와 기회 신인 내가 두고로 아디 나신 다 데니기 랑기 바체경 지지비 미디고 소소리아 네바 기회이나 안델야 잡고미야다 니지고미야 안 쇠고미야 and Jambada Niji Commodo, and the Janju Semkia, and the Chiki, and Yamletia, Kokapos, Pantoshi, Sosolia, Subaniam, and Chimbaniam, Caso de Tsujumi, Subaniam Yungore, and Jambo Companiam, Niji Yamle, Janju Sem Companiam Yungubaza, the Nigi Kawasa, Delet Kawasagu, Satu, Kivishin and Towers. Kivishin Latin Hanzukula, Kawamopukia, Naji Kong Latine, and Hanzukula Jamnijeta, Subaniam, Yamle, Mobile to Kawachimo Satu, and the Kivishin and Tower Shaw said, that would say this.
Reason then that we should see this person, this object of our patience, as being like our spiritual teacher, is that our spiritual teacher presents how we should train in patience, meditate on patience. So we hear and we reflect and meditate on their teachings. And in this process, we accumulate vast stores of merit. We're accumulating vast stores of merit in dependence on our practice of patience, which we are able to cultivate due to our teacher. So therefore, in dependence on our teacher, we've accumulated vast stores of merit through practicing patience. Similarly, when we are not on our meditation cushion and we encounter someone who becomes an object of patience, in dependence on them, we get to put our practice of patience into practice in the field, so to speak. And therefore, just like with our spiritual teacher, in dependence on this person, we accumulate huge stores of virtue through the generation of love and compassion and patience. So the similarity between the two beings and why one would see them both as a spiritual teacher is that independent on our interaction with them, we are able to accumulate huge stores of virtue.
Dinigi, that Janju Semba Chila, that Janju Semba Ina, that Janju Semba Koron to get Yamlenji in Janju Semba Chimena, that Koron to Pat Zewachin, Gidi in a Pandochi, and the Rawa, Hondo Yahu Yaki, and the Chiki Dondala, and the Yahu Donda Rawachi, and Pandoshu, Yonshavena, Yonshav, Dinigi, Midigi, Raja, and the Chiki Tilen Chuagi Tabla, and the new Nokia down. And the dictating Minusia and the contract down, Situla, the Nigi, and she Jabanga chair, the Lesovena, the Janju Sympathy, how about delay, Niji or Essay, how about Niji or a Karsene? Now, Parketing Yaku, Chesavachilla, and two, and the Yawamajavana, Corona Diwachimbo Sagorova, Diwachimushu Sagorova, these are the Ninja, that how about the call, and your mobile Shawana Sonsha, the Nez and Nesuki. Nisu machine body, and Ninja, some big Hawa, the Niji, and Delia, and the Pa, Koromalama, and Subiniam Legia, on those Yamleji goddess, Jizamanamgi, and Yamlin Goddess.
Bodhisattva is guided by the principle to be of benefit to others, and the guiding light is their love, their compassion, and their wisdom. And under the influence of these minds, They interact with others, always with the sole goal of helping others in a truly meaningful way. So when they encounter someone who is deeply afflicted, whether it's someone that they have benefited and who now shows ingratitude, or someone of bad nature, or someone who's deeply afflicted, such as being jealous, whenever they encounter such a person, the Bodhisattva only will help them in response to their harm. They will never respond in kind. They only will respond in a helpful manner. And they are able to do this because of the power of their love and compassion and wisdom. They understand, through the training the Bodhisattva has been through, they understand that this person now before them is deeply afflicted. They are confused about reality. They are under the delusion of the afflictions. They are completely deluded due to the dominance of the afflictions. And in the state of confusion, they are suffering. And not only are they suffering now, but they're accumulating huge stores of non-virtue, which will just lead to further negativities in the future. So independent on this training, spontaneously love and compassion for the suffering being arises. And therefore, bodhisattvas will only help in response to the harm they receive.
Ngarang zomi na ngarang jugi phabe mases jambo che ni che ya shu che rewa che ko lob ja ya ko yo ya da mi ya ko cha ya gi dan da an su su ya an ji mo ba na an da do che ya da di ni gi tho sam rewa shu jap che ko gang che le ko ya ko yo ya gi dan da dan ngon ju ya ko shu che su su rang gi za wa che jam gyo shu che ben mi chi gi da ngarang zo ya an ji ge 지도는 대리야 안에 판다야 잡려야 안 소소려 녀베기야 당 되는 죄벌로야 콘르돼야 직수시야 벤징한 줄야도 셰베네 당하선 베마스 로파미야 차기로 와도 아 당이 쉬고 전부 지는 게 야고 쉬고니 고양아리 딩에 되는 지기도 선배게 나 로팜 쉬리로 근데 미 오마시바 지한 줄에 직수시바다 고에 나줄에 두자 제베네 딩이디 순 로팜 체 용거서네 아주 파 야고 제시하게 딩한 좀 누가 지는 아주 로팜 체 용구로 와 미션다 제발 로팜 체 용구로 와 아주라.
The illustration that this verse alludes to, you probably have experience in your life of. And if not, one certainly can relate to understand this in that if someone is rude and abusive to one, but this is a complete stranger, then we'll have one kind of reaction, maybe thinking they're just a little strange. Out of nowhere, they're suddenly talking to one in this way. If it's someone that we have some relationship with, some interaction with, our response will be quite different, will be a little bit more severe. But if we have invested a lot into a relationship, we've really put time and energy and care into this relationship, really from deep within, not just because we were told to do so, but this is from our side. We want it to be of benefit to this person. When such a person responds in an abusive manner, it hurts us far more deeply. And all too often in situations like this, we get really upset that this person has taken such advantage of us, has shown such ingratitude. In fact, if they were to come before us, come visit us in our home, we almost certainly wouldn't let them in, but would chase them away and tell them, take your ingratitude, your attitude of ingratitude, and go. Never come back.
And Jing dire, and Midang, Kui, Jebang Amba, Kunung Amba, Samlo Amba Tetan, Control Down, and the Chig, Nubi, Samba Tetan, Mini de Kawa, Yawara Chema Tuache, and Chibaro Sam Taje, and then to Mitelia, and Sevacoma Tubadi, Sevacoma Tubin, and the Chagora, the Kienji and Anzolia, that Sevacoma Tubadi, the Yungorwa.
Should we respond in that way? maybe not verbally, but even feel that way, what will be very apparent to us is the lack of success in our training in patience. And one of the reasons why our training in patience has not been successful is we have not yet come to a good understanding of the role that the afflicted minds play. In particular, we're still confusing the person for their afflictions. We're still seeing a person as being pervaded by their affliction. If it's say anger, we see this anger as pervading the person, rather than seeing the person and the anger as separate.
장도를 지고 고라로야 장도를 지고 그래 제가 디네자 땅아서 삼다도 오다 디네기 다 소속이 디네기 내서 마중이엘나 아니 디네체는 그 디네 제베이나 다 건주기 디 삼노디 남베체디 삼노 남바레 이네 미코론다 삼노니디 카가데스 제가 다 미코론라 카요 말에 제가 미디게 삼노 운동 남바 컨트롤다 디소에 샤원도 규와레 닝제 선배게 다 닝제 삼야다 닝지게 닝제 공부데 세데 두스장 삼다 닝제 kom 장도를 제야다. 데네 데리아 쇠보kom이야게 장도를 제야. 다 데네 그냥 저거 쇠보kom 코로나 잠니제kom 아니 두스치냐나 저 코이기기 아니 컨트롤돼 봐 세야데 뇽모바 셋업 제야기 아 두스여고래 선배다 아주 두스네 당원 두스 삼로제 몽부로제 신주직제 어디진 어디 지역을다 디지역도 선배게 안 데네기 야네 야도 디지긴 선배게 아니 직 미팅 was 맨나야 되는 것도 되는 중간에 이 선배게 지금 매발에 지시봐 지금 검야를 열어와도 검제도 전에 장도를 제거하게 계치 못 차고로 되는 장도 제발이나 아니 전시선만 하시 되는게 강아 중요들 남사 수보금 투야다 잠니지기 투야디 연구로 와다.
To cultivate patience, especially to the level where we can deal with confrontation with a mind that is truly undisturbed, takes a great deal of perseverance. It doesn't come about easily. The technique for cultivating patience is the same as for every other skill. We need to train our mind, train our way of thinking, and to develop this new skill, we need to put in a lot of effort over a sustained period. So the way to do it is similar to what was mentioned before. Need to go through the steps, seeing the preciousness of others, their importance in our lives and so forth. And then you need to understand the role the afflicted minds play in our lives, and thereby we'll understand the role they play in the lives of others. Meaning, we come to recognize that our true enemy is the afflictions. Not what someone says, not what someone does or does not do, but our response to that, our afflicted response to that. That causes the suffering. And this is the case for us, and it's for others. And just like when ourselves, the afflictions arise and they dominate, we can't think beyond that. For example, if we overcome by anger or attachment, that's all we can think of. So too with others. When they are under the control of the afflictions, they have no freedom. This we need to come to see clearly. In this way, we have the basis of love and compassion for others, seeing them as precious. We have a basis also through our wisdom, understanding the role that the afflictions play within us and knowing that they play the same role in others. And then as our love and compassion for others does grow, we will long for all beings to be freed of the afflictions and thereby attain lasting stable happiness. And then when we encounter someone who is afflicted, wanting them to be freed of this affliction which is dominating them and causing them to talk in such a way, we will respond in a way that soothes their mind, that eases their suffering. And we can only do that because our mind is spacious and calm, knowing that what they are saying cannot harm us. And because we've become skilled in our training, in particular if we've done role-play situations on the meditation cushion, we will be able to respond in a way that eases their burden. And this will bring great joy to us. Joy knowing that we have aided a suffering mother sentient being. But again, to develop this way of thinking takes time and it takes constant application. But it certainly can be done.
Adi nyamlen chego badi dan chike chöchi du nyamlen chedu ane gidi na chi gyong jang kurdu garan chi kare shebe na mi tenesina dele sevokom ane chike mi gyonju che china ane chi sosuge gyonju bene ane dele ya sevokom che ane dijin shoge sheba na shin gyong rala ko khepsa di milti de shesa de ane gyongro chi de kangaro sto sambi yon sigiru ada chi gyongro ta chi gyong chimburagi do sambi samno yon sigiru de za chechale de gyong jang kubu do sambi samno yon sigiru.
I want to go back to something that I covered this morning because it's really important here. A common misunderstanding with the practice of patience is that when one receives criticism or is scolded or blamed unfairly for something, if one is just patient with this situation, then one becomes a doormat. Others will take advantage. Others will say, oh, I can say what I want to this person, it doesn't matter. There are no repercussions for me. So one may well have some doubts about the practice of patience.
Shengi nga zule nyoba che kanga te ga du de no nga zo sebo kom ya la so ba da mi ge an ji shengi so so gyun zo che che an ji ja la so ba de an ngi ke ku ma che che ngi pa che ho ya ja nga te ho se de na ham ba ji ne cho ba la so ba che ba na ta ge de ji nga zo ka se sebo kom an ya ha shan la te an ko ron pa te chu da nga sebo kom gyong ku res la ro the never tilia chung your thing as do some tavern, Yona, Chepsa de Cartier yours in it, Chepsa the Pema the Chimuyor. That is around to get Yakap Chung Jilia, Sevocomche, Sosuke, Sevocomche Palen, my catch, and do dead way now. These Sevocom big Jebu. And call it Ninja, Jamje, Comshe, Digi Jebu, Dadine, Sosala, Semlia, and Chico Kama Japan, Dizzy Semlia, Kamada, New Kama Shuchilio, Simaki Chayomar, Cousin Sevocom, Jamjo Combina. The Sevocom, Jamjo Mocom by the Pale, Leno, Coroshu, and the Coroshu, and this is Maki Chayada, and then Nina Nimuhuada, and Dina Yana Yando, some of the corner to shoot church, Rogadina, Dina Samura de Chagora. That is Sevocom, Jamjo Comshabana, that didn't have to let Dizzy Kamasioma, the Jonto Siravenia. Digi Jebu di Mahombana, Kiwa Chimare, Chime, some Davana, and Jiggy, Chime also Jebu Yapo Yada, and Tarba, the Tamji Kibo, Toyala, Tanya Dread, Yamden Child. Just a day in the Jebu must chimbo that I mix with Toya Mevana, Jebu de Yachimu Child. That is young to Chuju Madama, just not young Chuju Benazulia, Bendigo. Gong ne chimbu shu jala jagena pa ne shu ju pa je ne gayo marwa de ni je sa di na shin che go re.
Certainly in some circumstances we will experience a loss. For example, if we are accosted in the street and someone demands our bag or our wallet, and then if we give it to them, and we give it to them with joy, knowing that this is a person that clearly is desperate for our money, we give it to them with joy. Then our mind is spacious and calm, we've related well with this person, we're not angry, and we've given away our possessions. But we are now without our possessions, so it's clear we've received a loss. So here, when one is actually practicing patience, so one's mind is calm and spacious, one can use one's wisdom, and one will see in this circumstance it's good to respond in a particular way, and yes, I am receiving a loss, But in terms of the benefits I'm receiving, it's incomparable. I'm accumulating a vast store of merit because in a situation of grave danger, a situation where my afflictions could arise, I've successfully applied my practice of patience. And moreover, through generating love and compassion for this being, and thereby patience, so much virtue has been accumulated. Virtue which will help me towards becoming a Buddha for the sake of all. I've created a strong connection with this being, and in the future, I will be able to use that connection in a truly beneficial way with them. So here we see that we have accumulated some loss, but it's clear the benefit is far greater. And the way we can understand this in an everyday sense is if we have the opportunity to buy something of great value, but at a ridiculously discounted price, we will snap it up and we will say, what a good deal I got. That's the kind of attitude a bodhisattva will have when practicing patience.
Shengi Dunda la Lu Longju Chasan, and the Chanlia, Jimatayada, Shengi Dunga said Digi to be Alpa Dangorpa. Cesar, not the Deniga server Chunju Gomche, Yamlan Chimatuana, Denigi Lu Longju Chasan, Patangje, Shen Rocha, and Shengi Digi to Yada Dunga Sealia, and Jetuyadi Kaboshalva. Cesar Deniza, Cochunjune, Pajangi, Jangi, Yacher, and Rockport, DJ Jimji. 今年俺做什么呀？都今年俺做什么了呀？讲都是提过，随便几刚刚几车点了，随便就讲讲你就讲图呢，人家是图对，俺点了随便我们讲你就讲，都公过去，俺什么了呀？讲都是提过的。可是差几个人点的公码头话去，点了那边出那边是爬起那人接，随便呢，讲都是现在有那样嘛的，我然后随便你们那讲你这个落地爬，比我这样就要嘛，你不讲切着图嘛，俺都是。 就节、年节、送节都这种呢，等那个俺这个三六个讲多少天节，等那个三六的随便你们家的讲吧的，在我国面的，然后呢就国面女白切做多，等那咱俺就呀这个俺这个三九个朋友做头下来，他年做下的，解决什么差下来，他年做好的，等那切过了吧。
Moreover, we know that to achieve Buddhahood, not only does one have to cultivate love, compassion, and patience, but these need to be cultivated to the point of where they're perfected. So knowing that they need to be cultivated to such a degree, we know that we need to start with our baby steps, starting to cultivate them. But there's a long path of growth in strength and power of these qualities such as love, compassion, and patience. So therefore, when with this understanding then, when you have the opportunity to enact these qualities, especially in situations where previously they were difficult to cultivate, we will value those situations greatly. So for example, if we take the situation of where we're being asked or demanded to give our possessions, if we have trained well, we will know that everything that we have gained independence on others. Whether it's our material possessions, of our body, our roots of virtue, our good qualities, all have been attained independence on others. And as an aspirant to the Bodhisattva paths, this was the very first reflection we looked at here in terms of the kindness of others. So then, when someone asks or demands something from us, it becomes much easier to give when we realize that we only have it independence on others, knowing that therefore it is only appropriate that we use what we have attained, independence on the kindness of others, we use to alleviate their suffering. We use to develop a good relationship with others, a beneficial relationship, a harmonious relationship with others. And with such an understanding, it becomes very easy to give away one's possessions and even eventually to give away one's body one's root of virtue. But here, the key point, of course, is, especially when we read about how the great bodhisattvas do practice, to be aware that bodhisattvas are not only renowned for love and compassion and patience, but also wisdom. Therefore, so too should we. And here, we need to practice in accordance with our ability, not to practice in a way that is actually beyond our ability. So where we can give genuinely, without any grasping, we should do so. Where there's hesitation, we shouldn't feel compelled. We need to be honest with ourselves, sincere with ourselves, and practice in accordance with ourselves. And whenever we see progress in our training, we should rejoice in that sign. Where we encounter difficulty, we must be patient with this. Patient in our training, in patience. Because this is a long path, and it's a gradual development. But development will come in dependence on our repeated training.
Shen ye pe za chimbo ran ge chimbo shu chimbo zi tong chimbo sha shi shen je ba zime samla ge dar shen gi don da la rani ka le ka ze kyab na gyong ka re na pa ya wa do du sam da di da shen nyam ji nyam ne ji da de ba ze zan di na de de che zan di shi ge do wa da shen nyam ji nyam ne ji da shi wo ze zan shen gi de ne ka ma te ben gyong gyong so so ran le shen pa ne che che sa de shen le te wo re se de che zan shen je ba ji shen le ya jang ba ze wa ni ji shen le pa de so so ran ga ga de di don da le ga ga zi ga ga yu de gyong ku ne ku ku re se de ka je da shen nyam je gom na shi wo che sa de.
Of the two methods for cultivating bodhicitta, the 6 cause and 1 effect method and that of equalizing and exchanging self with others, this presentation here is in accordance with that of equalizing and exchanging self with others. Equalizing is what we looked at earlier, where we're coming to see that there really is no difference between ourselves and others. We all want happiness and to be freed of pain and suffering. And we've developed a close relationship with others, a feeling of intimacy with others. And so therefore we have developed a sense of equanimity or impartiality towards others. And the second part is that of the practice, equalizing and exchanging. And here we're exchanging 2 attitudes. That of this self-cherishing attitude that has dominated us so since beginningless lives, exchanging that for the other cherishing mind, the mind that values others as more than oneself. So it's changing these 2 attitudes. And this comes about through recognizing that all happiness comes about in dependence on others. So with this understanding, then taking a loss becomes very easy, because we know we're not actually taking a loss. We are achieving great benefits.
Shen che ba chen de kyum chen de ji ka san ma zo chik tang mo na she ba na ji shen che ba chim kyum chen de ji she ba na shin da de ne chim ma go cha san na ji de mi do ka sa ne shen se de pe ne so so ya ne be ji tin ne ki wi shin na zhou re si de ko pe ma sa ra le ge chim bo de pan do chim mo yin ba se de ane ka san sem je ku le ya ane de ji ge za chim bo ji ri no bo na da wo la de shen le pe ma ji ge chim bo za chim bo ji wo re da ji zu cha san ka se 다자 좀 지고 윤전데 가려나 안에 제소라 때네 소소라라 수변 냠는지야 한 자반 닌지 냠는지야 장슈 셈길에게 다 타바다 탐지 김을 고반자 콘솔을 때 셈절을 때 톱투도와 시사 되네 인자 자치 모레스 다 랑 제바 젬비게 삼데라 시한레 제바 젬베 삼로 지어바나 내려야 잠바다 제와 인지기 장주심기 두도 니냠네 제발레 때네 안에 파진주비 냠네 제다 사요고고 도도도 제자 데네 도바나 랑기와 시한레 판도바 라신이가 디기 주야다 동아세야데 자와 개침을 두두두 선배 삼다 랑 제바 셴 제바 젬 삼로디 연된데니 스투 삼바 삼다다 랑 제바 젬 삼로디 마랑 고고도 아디기 고고 선배 삼로디기 안에 나서려 콘트라기야 되차기야 마기야 녀모기 디기 토네 안에 라리아 안지 랑마기버스야 셴마기버스야 안디워게 안에 레사 랭아바스네 안에 두마 빠토메 번용과 차데 디레샤 섬제 랑아지진 삼발라 괜다 셴지진 삼바 연된다제 대 셴제바 짐바 연된다도 제는 셴지진도 공부 공부제는 셴샤리아 안제바 제서복공 된 잠바데 미주공이야다 언두시기도 하다 donde ocurrece donde tadigi donde dice guarda.
Over the presentation over the three previous presentations, we've spoken quite a lot about this already. You remember we spoke earlier about the great benefits of the other cherishing mind, that it's independence on the cultivation of a mind that cherishes others, that we'll be able to develop actual love, actual compassion, and achieve Buddhahood itself. And moreover, and we also spoke about the way to cultivate the other cherishing mind is that it starts out by seeing others as precious. And I've seen this now mentioned several times throughout the text, where we see others as being precious, as being likened to more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, as being supreme as opposed to ourselves, as being like a precious treasure, should be considered as our spiritual teacher. So throughout the text thus far, it has been presented how we should relate to others, how we should value others. And we also spoke yesterday about the faults of the contrary mind, the mind that pervades us so, the self-cherishing mind. Because it's from this self-obsession where we always place our needs first and foremost, that all our afflictions arise. Wanting our needs to be fulfilled, we get angry when they are not. Wanting our needs to be filled, a desirous attachment arises for what we want. Pride arises because of our self-cherishing mind. In fact, all the afflictions arise from this self-cherishing mind. The great fault of these afflictions is not only that they lead to our suffering then and there, but through their arisal, and especially when we act them out, we accumulate negative karma. And negative karma is the source of all our suffering and pain. And so through this reflection that we looked at yesterday, we come to identify that it's the self-cherishing mind that is our true enemy, and this is the object of abandonment for bodhisattvas. The other cherishing mind, this is what we need to strive to cultivate. Following from this then, the text comes to the presentation on the practice of giving and taking. In short, I will offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers. I will practice in secret, taking upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings.
Jiki Hapshanda, Shanlia, Kama Yobatlia, Anzuki Chikuni, Robotia, Mengu Tone, Shandia, Dinigi, and Jutu Shevan, and Junior Pando Chivachiro. She's not Karine, the Anzuki Soso Rangi, Yu Longe, Gewat, Skade, Sasha, Chaza, Dizo, and Jem Semja Tam Jigi, Digi Druada, Duma Sege Tondala, and Tango Resh, Tango Resh, Kuna Pus, and Tango Resh.
In short, I'll offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers. Directly then would refer to when we directly encounter others. So to use the example of generosity, if we meet someone who's impoverished or someone who's ill, we can directly be of assistance to them. And indirectly, again with the example of generosity, would be if we were to help those who are either impoverished or ill through charities, and they could help people that we don't know, or help people in countries other than our own. And in terms then of the vastness of the Bodhisattva's goal, we see that in the second line, will help them with every benefit and happiness. Everything that will be of benefit or happiness. That is as broad as the scope of the outlook of a bodhisattva. And in terms of their objects, to whom? All beings that they relate to as their mothers.
And Duro and the Chigi, Busin that part of Mebayorua, Miri, you shoot Chadro, Duno Chevanesho, Hojura, and Dinajin Yawa Pata, Ida Pata, the Lada. There's a Dana to get also on to get Desulia, Pandoa Robochi to Yakamaro, that Karchi Orson, Nanzuki Wasashibi, Tisugi Dondalia, Nanzuki, Simji Consulia, Devada, Diana Sepigi, and the Jamakomia, Desu Dumada, Tapu Sepigi, Nijokom. Dene Kumbiki Tibu, Dehadi Yang Konzo, Diki, the Consul of Chua Show, so Konsuki Nadi, Yamlin Chibi, Kawa, Digi, Tibu, Mamba, Kawa, Dilla, Dene, Konsu Dunga Seata, Digi, and Tarbata Taji, Topa Shows, and began to Kawa, Konsu de Moed, Wada, Moyo, the Consul of Pua, Buat Shaw, Pugo, Wada.
All beings refers to, of course, all sentient beings. Not just those that we feel an affinity to, but all beings. When you think about the vastness of beings, those who live in the oceans, the entire animal kingdom, and the even greater number that abide in the spirit realms and in the hells, as well as the gods, it's a vast array of beings. So it's not possible for us to directly aid even anything more than the slightest of fractions. But indirectly, certainly as we develop ourselves, we can be of assistance to them. We can generate love and compassion towards them and dedicate our virtue to them. All the virtue we accumulate, especially if it's in relation to them, for example, if we generate love and compassion towards others, dedicate that merit. And dedicate it with sincerity, may it ripen on their continuum. And through these roots of virtue ripening on their continuum, may it ease all their temporary sufferings, and may it become causes for them to attain precious human rebirths, come under the care of Mahayana spiritual teachers, and progress rapidly towards liberation and enlightenment.
Ngai kya nyomo berik chasa da jik ndera ane luike natsa semyu dunga luike natsa dunga pado meba nyongo ya disu chasa ane leanga ba sashi ba kare na di chasa chu ane ni rangi chu lengi samcha chu lengi se dia sanwe dara lemba sho se du ji Bendigo Shanlia, Jingui Jigu, Capra, Atisha, Mata, Sawachen, Sosona, Dustin, Yamnajo, Reches, Lingu, USB. That Dandala, the Shingan, the Lunga, Yusumi, Longe, Gezo, Tamje, Shansim, Simjing, Dijuada, Tumas, the Patangu, Simja Tamjelia, Tangu, Jigu, Sibigu, Babachada. And the Simja Tamjigi, and then Tamjigulo, Duachao, Condor, I get Yomo, Sashi Belang and Bitirukare, Yobata, and then Simjigi, near Nazakare, Chazan, Sujin, ni lenche ngai lenche konzo an dunga de shile sa da an digi chung so se pe ma ba che an du chene an du chi leng ro re che sam dang ro re je ro.
The second half then, the first half then was in terms of giving to others. And the second half then is taking from others, and we see I will practice in secret, taking upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings. The first part I will practice in secret. Secret here refers to we shouldn't make a big deal about what we're doing. We don't need to broadcast it to others. We don't need to brag to others about our practices we are engaging in. This should be done with sincerity and without broadcasting it. So secret should be understood in that way. It's not that it is a secret to be kept, but that we should guard against pride. It's not about broadcasting ourselves to others. And then the final line, all their harmful actions and sufferings. So this then we can understand in a similar way with the second line, every benefit and happiness. What is being said in both of these in the context of firstly giving and now taking is the Bodhisattva will be practicing in the broadest possible way, taking on all forms of harm and suffering that others are experiencing, physical and mental. So everything that we can imagine, everything that we may have experienced or observed in the experience of others or read about that are being experienced in other realms, as broad and expansive as possible, we imagine taking. And similarly with giving, as broad and expansive as we can imagine, we give. So here, throughout this verse, we see the limitless scope of the Bodhisattva's mind. It's anything but narrow, directly and indirectly, benefits and happiness to all, and then all harmful actions and sufferings. It's the broadest possible scope. Here the Bodhisattva imagines taking on their pain and giving to them peace and happiness.
Bendigo nyamlen na dia ne chige sangyu thone nyamlen nang kore che chasan odengi chigi ni chigi se chapra da denegi member sangyu thona shana ndu chine nyamlen nang kore dene nyamlen na de chen semba da desugi da kron su nubo yoba inza shenji dunga denegi chu le yong sigide yu len tuwa yong sigide ne pa an chig chasan da ya da panto ja chi bu tu yong go ro da.
In the practice of taking, the bodhisattvas will imagine taking on this wide variety of sufferings that beings are experiencing. So they'll conjure up images of that suffering, taking it on, alleviating beings of it. But not just manifest suffering, but also the seeds of non-virtue that abide on the continuum of others, the seeds that will lead to future suffering, as well as the afflictions that continue to ripen those seeds. All three of these, the Bodhisattva imagines taking on. And in order for beings to, and then imagines them being alleviated from suffering, and then gives to them all this, the virtue that they are accumulating right now, that the Bodhisattva is accumulating right now, as well as their store of virtue. And then imagines that virtue ripening in the continuum of others experiencing both temporary happiness, so they are alleviated from the suffering that the Bodhisattva has imagined taking on, and now they're experiencing ripening virtue, so they're experiencing happiness. And moreover, the seeds of virtue that are being given, which have been accumulated through their Dharma practice, they make strong prayers that it ripens in causes that will enable the suffering being to progress towards enlightenment. So great bodhisattvas train like this, and they can have a beneficial impact on others through such training.
동린 공구에 도 스테이션에 삼로다도 나도 섬을 장도로 요마로다 장도로 시고 와다 제제로 지사 소속의 류 론주에 개와 차사 야시안 파지 시안 심절 파당 당기 스페다 메바체다 다시 동아당 안데 강아까지 여바다 녀모바다 차사 이 수링기 스미도 진행하게 도 장도로 시고 차고와 되네 장도로 시바이는 장도로 지기 제대 삼로디 뉴바체르셔야 차고와 저는 이제 안데 디 장도를 시고래 디수진념내 지고래 디 제바디야 나 지소소라게 지기 네 코심심체마다 시야리 아우당에 동란 지유 다 가상의 디곰영의 지체 땅아디 배 기우 중소사의 디시요 말이지.
For us as aspirants to the Bodhisattva paths, this is training that we can and should engage in. And the way to do so is exactly the same as the Bodhisattva did, but not under any delusion that we are in that moment freeing all beings from suffering, but we are training ourselves to become bodhisattvas. This is part of the steps to become a bodhisattva. Generate compassion for us, for others, with the strong wish, may all beings be freed from suffering. I will take all your suffering. It's my responsibility. I take that, as well as the seeds of future suffering and the afflicted minds that ripen it. And I give to you all the virtue I'm accumulating. May you experience this joy and happiness and imagine beings being happy. So for us, we're just doing this on a mental level, but it's a very beneficial training, even though it's only on a mental level, because of the qualities that it leads to within us. And this kind of practice, though, as it says here in the third line, we should keep to ourselves. We don't need to broadcast it to others. We don't need to tell others about, oh, I did this meditation yesterday, I felt so happy, oh, I'm so wonderful, I'm seeing all this progress. There's no need for that. That only creates obstacles. That we can keep to ourselves.
소소게 소와 대화디 파티에서 세대 말하다 소소와 대화디 파티에서 다 대화 파땅스도 땅을 좀 봅니다. 땅을 좀 가르쳐 왔으나 다 소소레베 제 칼라 신부시우 사야지 기우시우 사야지 소소레베나 소소사도 신부지용도 대화 녀셔와 디 대화 인사한테 칼라 신부도 미교 닝제스 미교 칼라 마장 찔려 직대샤베나 나 소소게 산에 신부 대화 녀야디 콜로 녀주고 와 지금 거기 짱 아주 대화 파티에 봐서 뒤로 책을 와 동아 추 렌스에 간주게 거기로 동아 초와 동아딩아 추 렌스 가요 말하다 때문에 다 동아 렌스도 간이 고고르스 제고르스나 단 미치베 레가라 깔레 잡쇼 제깔레 잡고 레가 마서 깔레 잡지 근데 제리고 봐나 단 주게 내처럼 되스니스 잡쇼 미처럼 레가 등이 레고선 거 난주게 깔레 소소 깔레 유베나 깔레 잡지 레베 콜 흘려 되지만 제상 거 강아지 만주 주다 추 렌제 안 콜레 되스 기우르 되시고 강아 세지고 제상 데네기 안 가지고 동아 렘바 추 렘바 세다 안 대화 파테 바세디 데네 용도도와
The kalaki Bendigo mas di sempre selber goes.
Kala 신부 세는 소소 신부 칼라 사요 소소데 칼라 신부 용 대화 정도로와 제상 디 소소데 마사제 미교오질 제샤반 때 나도 칼라 신부 대화 용역이 삽디 콜 용고와 제상 대화 파테세 제대로
There are many reasons why this is a crucial training for beings such as ourselves who aspire to the bodhisattva paths to engage in. Because in certain ways, this practice we can actualize. Doesn't mean we can take on and eliminate all sufferings of all beings and take them to Buddha and bestow Buddhahood on them. But through developing our way of thinking here, we can alleviate the suffering of others and bestow or give happiness to them. For example, if we train like this and we're developing minds of love and compassion towards others, and not just love and compassion, but the altruistic attitude of, it's my responsibility to alleviate the suffering of others. It's my responsibility to guide others to experience happiness, both temporary and ultimate. Then, if we know someone, for example, who's impoverished and who's struggling to feed themselves, we'll cook them a delicious dinner And instead of us eating it in our joy, we'll give it to them. And they can eat that nutritious meal and experience that joy. So therefore, instead of us experiencing the delight of delicious food, they are. So here, we're giving happiness to others, and we're taking away their suffering. Now that's a very simple way that we can actually practice this. Another way is when we know someone who's going through quite some difficulty and they're struggling to cope, and we see that we have the skill, we have the ability to aid them. We then go to them and we say, you sit down now, you rest. I will take care of these tasks that need doing. You take some time to yourself. You get your energy back. And in this way, we ease the suffering of that person. And they're feeling cared, they're feeling appreciated, and their joy is coming to them. So here's another example of how we can alleviate the suffering of others as well as bring happiness to them. Up to this point, through all these trainings, one would have accumulated vast stores of virtue from meditating on the kindness of others, generating love for them, compassion for them, patience, as well as engaged in the practice of taking and giving. Now we come in the final verse, the 8th verse, to the presentation on ensuring that these trainings are freed from the defilements, or the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, as well as the understanding that no phenomena exists truly.
That's
without these practices being defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, I will practice without grasping to release all beings from the bondage of the disturbing, unsubdued mind and karma. Okay. The Tibetan, the 2 words right at the end of this verse, which were not in the original verse, written by Geshe Langri Tangpa, but a different word. So we have both the words that have been later added, as well as the original word. We have both in the English. So the word that have been added is the, let's see, one we don't translate. It's an expression of aspiration. So maybe here we have as I will. And then the other word is to release. So those words, weren't in the original verse, but the word that was, we do have as which is to practice or to train.
the naked, the signal, the cement lab, young Tangazu shows the Molam Japshan, and you don't do the Molam Jap, what it is.
The words that have been added, they express I will and then freedom or release. What we have here, freedom or release. Here we have release, and but the meaning, the actual word is actually I will practice. In other words, everything that is presented in these 8 verses, this is to be practiced. I will practice.
I don't know, did I couldn't choose you to be to my bashin, said the Tangazuki, that is in did I couldn't say the Genialia Shediki, Yamnetia, Tikis or Jam Ninja, Sebocomia, Nijimbi, Yamnetia, Tonlem Comia, Tangazu, Dornazo Kawakari, Jebina. This is cheating Chigi, and then on the Mason, Toby Tima, Mabashi, Toba said, cheating Chigi, Samlos, the nigger Samlos Mevach Kuguris. Just so cheating Chigilana. Rangalia, Kevana, Rang Tamyanda, Kio Kerachai, Donna, do some Dana Chichi Charu, Rangalia, and Chico, the Nisu, Jamini, Kumila, or Media Word as a Mituanga, some Dashi, the Nikuno Cheche, the Nikumbuina, and Jitin Chuki want to call it. That's the Nikum, Jamini, Kumbus, Michas, Yangu Rag, Rag, Dondala, or Dami Dichigor, as a Yangu Rag, Donna, some Dachi, some Nukuno, the Nikeche. Kewaina, Digit Chuki on Soare. Chesa Deneza, Jizin Chuki, Denigo on the Mason Chukures, Chekare, Anzu Kejo Kari, Trubaina, Dondala, Rangalia, some Matache, Shen, the Pempachido, Shen Simjana, Digituya, Dunga Sea, that Digituya, Pempa Konichi, some jet, and some Daje, Keju Chukures, the Daukunya, and Chuki, Dobitima Mabashin.
Look at the first line. Without these practices being defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns. All these practices that have been presented thus far, we need to ensure that we are doing them, that our motivation is sincere. Our motivation is only to ease the burden and suffering of others so that they can ease the suffering and the burden and suffering of others and lead them to enlightenment. That is our motivation. And this motivation we need to ensure is freed from wish to receive something in return. For example, praise from others, or to have a good reputation, or to receive some kind of gift or offering. Here we need to look with sincerity at our motivation, ensuring it's free from any worldly concern, any ordinary concern like this, but rather is a genuine motivation of the Mahayana.
That's a genuine Chenam humor sheba, yes, in between or later show, say, Tang to later show, said, and Chimmy Shimba Chimmy, the lap said down, later show, said that don't know how she was in it. Tang to the she, to come, Jam Nije, Chaju Sem, come, Sada, Subi, Yamajada, the new Komiaki, Suebata, and the Chimbata, Nichik, Donling is Jada, the Niki, Jambata, Zewa, and Jaju Sem. Desuyina, Desoda, and then Ranchi come you, Super come you, the Mingamba, and Joba Zingbola Sobada, and then Yomo Bada, the Niki, Super come you, Desod, and the Super come Rani, Sosara, Yamniche, Sosara, some Shukane, China, Chenam, Shukane, China, Desod, Yumanashi is, Crescent Dashin Chibetsena, Desod, Yudan, Kin, Shella, Dune, Juba Mado, Yudan, Kin, Kala Matuba. Rang when you do it out in your money, some died, and then down
By perceiving all phenomena as illusory, our practice without grasping. Now, this refers to all the previous practices, whether it's meditating the kindness of others and generating the wish to repay their kindness, and thereafter love, compassion, patience, taking and giving. With all these practices, we see them as illusory. So the meaning here is that all the varying aspects of these practices, so there are 3 aspects to every practice. There is the object to whom one is focused, there is the practice itself, in other words, the mind that is meditating. For example, the mind of love, and there's the object to whom the love is focused, all sentient beings, and then thirdly, the meditator herself. So there are these three aspects. And so there's the person for whom one is generating love or compassion, or seeing as kind, or whose suffering one's taking on. There is the person who is the meditator, and then in between is that actual meditation, so that mind that is meditating. All three of these are empty of inherent existence. When any of them is investigated, one sees that they are, all three are dependent arisings. All come about in dependence on something other than itself, such as causes or parts or imputation. Nothing is independent. Everything is dependent. So again, it relates to the three spheres of each of these practices. The person to whom one is, for example, generating love, the meditation on love itself, that practice, as well as the meditator. All three, if we investigate, lack true existence. They are not independent, but rather dependent on something other than itself, such as causes, parts, or imputation.
다 주마 따볼라도 먼저 주마 때도 가서 판단도 뭐네라 로시 통고로 앞에 주마 행지 주마 때도 뭐네라 로시 nen고데 이내 돈다라 뭐네래요 말 주마 자래 되로 어디나신 가서 최근에 남배 나가 나요도 뭐도 가라 뭐도 랑 뭐니 주바시 nen고래서 진짜 나와나 신지 두에 제바 있나 얘기해요 말해서 진짜 주마 나시래서.
The usage of the term illusory is important. So if we see an illusion, it appears to us as real when it's not. In other words, something appears to exist, but it doesn't exist in the way that it appears. So that is the usage of the term illusory guides us in our meditation to look at, do things exist in the way that they appear or not, and we come to see that they are not, and therefore are illusory.
di shenpa re so de tempa drupa tsimbe tsimba shenpa se wor tempa drupa shenpa la na tempa drupa tsimba la chizan shenpe chingwa le zho sho shenpa se di se wor chizan di shenpa re es chizan di shenpa de da lo zhong tsikime tsingwa ne na jeba na shenpa de le ya pa jangdur che je kane dum jeba che di donda la lobzhong che wor la bu bu re se wor 당 안주 된데 친외들 좋아 쇼세 되니기 신바디 친와들 맞게와지 텔레파 투바 용어 쇼세 야만람 제거 와도 좋아 쇼세
If you think of magic tricks that you've seen, some of them are really quite remarkable. What the magician can conjure, it's really quite, it's so believable, it's so real. We know it can't be true, but it certainly appears in every way to us as being real. So this is the example that we use, in that something appears to exist in a particular way, and we have very little doubt. They've appeared to have done something quite remarkable. But this consciousness that believes in this is a wrong consciousness, because the object doesn't exist in the way that it appears. So this is similar to the meditation here. We come to see how an object appears, and then we investigate. Does it exist in the way that it appears? And we see that it isn't. And then we recognize that the mind that grasped at it as existing in the way that it appears is the mind of true grasping, the wrong consciousness. So this is the meaning here of I will practice without grasping.
Geshe Thubten ane Geshe jam nije soba kome nyamle da chimbe nyamle da phajun jugi nyamle gewa geza kande chuba ina yang ane jitin chugi wando maso wa chugi da madeba chine nyamle nam gores de na ma se an diang an chu de ni chasa ane dembar juba se de zawa ine yo mare se de dembar mami ba tayo ko ne odu chine nyamle nam gores chisa de ni za Geshe Thubten dus nyamle nam gores che son ba da.
The meaning in brief here is that the way a bodhisattva practices is that whatever practice they are cultivating, whether it's reflecting the kindness of others, love, compassion, patience, taking or giving, all of them, they ensure that their mind is freed of the polluting motivation of the 8 worldly concerns. Moreover, they practice without true grasping.
나랑주이네 기위 자와 간에 주가 있나야 근데 군노들에 안데 야고치 고고로와 되는사 다대랑 군노들이야 안지진 취기 군노도 마송하지 계치모래 제산디 마송하래 야 장도 지고 그래서 니네 염는 집에 갑라야나 이네 최간에 신내 소소 나와나지 랑문에 주가 요 말에서네 안도시네 samna tang kure sinza deni za dang temper juba saide temper ju maru saide anju rashin juba yore yo mare saide kadis jubore ju mare se jeba che delya ne chetam je kimata wo imba di kimchen samta jeba che dusine jangdor sin la kure siru wa dala.
And for ourselves, we should endeavor to practice in exactly the same way. Cultivate our motivation, ensuring it's freed of the 8 worldly concerns, and rather ensure our motivation is a genuine motivation of the Mahayana Dharma, and also to investigate how phenomena appear to us and see whether they exist in the way that they appear. This we can do, and we should endeavor to practice in this way as well.
Sije tamani di ne deda kunle chege yo tobe tima mabasin di yanchege da nyamlen chena sha chaza jugi kunzo janju sem nyamlen che de la kunzo janju sem se da donam janju sem se ni ngoro wa chaza da kunzo janju sem nyamlen che di gange che de chaza kunzo janju sem nyamlen che da shi gore
di gage di donam janju sem
donam janju shi Tangpa tobe tima mawe di yanche de chaza ka shi gore sene ane kunzu janju sem nyamle che da ane je kaza dashe nyamje komna dige shigorwa sungore an da dine chenam gyumar ane shebayi ane shimbe chingwa le lapsho se lapsiadi ane tongi tu be shera nyamle che da shigora da delya donam janju sem ke se de da tongi oson tu be kemba nyamle janju sem ba ina dire da kanche le donda la di kapso na tongi ko sam ta na da jeba che da di nyamle che de ngarang zo le delya tongi ko sam ta den chen chwa so jwa sam ta an tong ba rashin yi ma zhu ba sam ta delya jang do ji hu la bu le se de yin ye se de ge sui ba la bia jin ba la bia chu jum la ya an ja shu sem nyamle ja da shen ya rang ji sing sam de do che an xian che sam ba gom na de cha sang xie ba da delya le de an che tham che an de ba ma zhu ba sam ta ko de yan den chen chwa jwa du sam ta ji de ba ma zhu ba de
Up to this final verse, all the practices that of a bodhisattva would be included in the division of conventional bodhicitta. So bodhicitta can be divided in different ways. A common division is into conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. So all these previous practices, such as reflecting the kindness of others, the wish to repay the kindness, love, compassion, patience, taking and giving, would all be included within conventional bodhicitta. Here, now in the final verse, we come to the reflection on emptiness. So this is where the bodhisattva would be cultivating the wisdom realizing emptiness as well as bodhicitta. So this would be preparation to give rise to ultimate bodhicitta. And when they come to realize emptiness directly, and there's the union of the direct realization, the wisdom directly realizing emptiness and bodhicitta, then that bodhicitta is called ultimate bodhicitta, bodhicitta that is conjoined with the direct realization of emptiness. So therefore, this the final training here, which is the reflection on emptiness. This would be included within the trainings to lead to the attainment of ultimate bodhicitta.
Chizan Sanje Goba Toba Inda, Rani Tingi Deva Masi, Shen Simja Tam, Jella Pemba Jachimutu, Nuba Chazan, Yonsu Soba, the Sanyo Gobare, Topja Tardo, the Sanyo Gobares, Chizan Arando Sanyo Goba Tobu Reshe, Janjusemba Tiki, Sanyo Goba Toba Tobu, Janjusemba Tiki, Yamlen Gades Nangore, Lana, and then Seba, that Jamniji Komiada, and the Janjusem, Dikunia, and then Tombani Komia, Nemo by Tonyu Komiata. And the Jimba Sujan Soba Zundra Soba, Passion to Yamnetus Nangores, Dinyam Nawa, Dinen, Sanjuko Tobaji, Dinyam Nangore, Sanje, Diniam Naja Sanjuko Tobare, Jensenbatiki Diniam Nangores. And Jeza Dineza, Tangazu Inea, and that Garjoresene, Jezan Azu Inea, Jamni Jukum, Janju Sim Kia, Janju Sim Yamneche, don't you to be sure of Yamneche, Jezan Kuno, Janju Senda. Don't you to be sure any Jay, George, and large parching to Yamlet, Dini Simpi Tone, and parching to Yamlet, one also let in the Checo Bore. Chisan Chewabaza, Janju Sembana, Jeba, Najin, and Arto Lobsang Chevaina, Sanjokova Toturi, Chisan Janju Semanaji, Majevana, and Sanjokova two Mares, Chisan Janju Semanajin, and Jamiji Comiata, Dicobure. Dinezada, Jamiji, Janju Sem Kevala, nearly Janju Sem Gunyam and Chewore, Gunyam and Che de Carelamna, Dananzuki. Tade Shadi, Dashan Yamjig, some Jan, the Union, Jajusim, Jewore, said that don't tell the Shigur, what the Donda Chasan Mboro Shivana.
They call the deduction Namche, they call it Yankas.
Jajusim Yamlet, Kiedela, Gundi Menga, Dundi, Dashan Yamjig, and Yamji Jajusim, New, just a deacon, that deacon Shadi, Dashan Yamji, Yamlet Jajusim, Gulaki, just a Dashan Yamji, Yamlet, who said, or do Shigur, Sungorwa.
So us as aspirants to the paths of the Bodhisattvas, we have as a final goal that of Buddhahood. How is Buddhahood achieved? Well, in brief, it's striving with a sincere motivation to be of benefit to others. Therefore, in order to achieve this goal, we need to put all our energy into being of benefit to others. And to do this, we need to act or train in exactly the same way as those who have achieved the paths of bodhisattvas, those who are rapidly approaching the attainment of Buddhahood. We need to train exactly like they do. So their meditations will be cultivating a reflection on the kindness of others, generating love, compassion, bodhicitta, and engaging in the 6 perfections, in particular the wisdom realizing emptiness. So the best of our abilities, we need to cultivate these minds too. And in particular, we need to generate bodhicitta as well as the wisdom understanding emptiness in accordance with our abilities, because to the extent that we can cultivate these, to that extent, all our activities will be virtuous, and that virtue will lead to the attainment of enlightenment. Without this motivation of bodhicitta and the wisdom understanding emptiness, enlightenment will not be achieved. Those virtuous practices will not lead to the result of enlightenment. So therefore, we need to train in the same practices as a bodhisattva and engage in the practice of equalizing and exchanging self with others, as was mentioned previously. So we cultivate bodhicitta, reflect on emptiness, and engage in the practice of equalizing and exchanging self with others.
다다 신념지 돈에 냠len치도 담보 가는 삼당 거센다 디링이 저게 가상다 디링시에게 랍제티가 저래 냠len 삼다나디 다다보다 랑치징에 삼바텔라 아니야 규엔다야 랑치징 삼바텔라 되네 가르가르 용구도세나 랑치징 삼바텔라 나 랑제바제 삼라텔라 콘로기기도 되차기기도 마게기도 녀모바 뭐지 뭐기기도 와서 지산 될라테네 아니 샤라 강아테라 랑라가 라신니까라 강아 내갑텔레 세델이나 라신니까라 강아 용도 and then Yomum gave on the Langa Basawana, Kiava Chimalia, and Dungapatum Kovalan, Kied, Dungapatum, Yongo Chaldua, Sebi, sometime Raji, somebody the Guenta. 다 셴레 제바 디파 랑치스 바 노르 제자 델파파 뻬제 셴레 제바 쯤에 삼로데 연데레샤 가스네 셴 제바 쯤에 있나 셴베 야포레샤스 셴레 제바 쯤에 있나 아니 셴기 수사솔이야 안지게 녀바키나 텔레 수보공투도 수변냠네 제투도 지산 셴레 제바 삼다도 셴레 잠바다 제와공투도 지산 잠바다 제와공투가 있나 고모이나 안 텔레 때네 가서 자주 셈기 투고 근데 산지고 봐 투투고 지산 셴기 세디 셴라 제바 쯤에 삼로 텔레 때네 가서 개화바도 메바 체델이네 소소나 기부야다 안디기야 지데 마음반에나 대화네 대화줘야 돼 차도 지산 셴지신 디베 마서 연대레샤 삼제 윤제 먹고 삼다제 랑치진 삼로도 규엔다 셴지 삼로도 연된다 또 진짜 제바제 다 셴지 삼로도 연된다 통해도 셴스베 마서 야고려와 자침부 슈레샤 랑라 판도 침부 끝은 침부 슈레 삼용도 되는 셴이야 아데 셴랑 대화되바나 셴 대화되바 랑 동안 미되바네 셴 미되 동안 미되 이제 셴심자 리티기데 되나 삼여 삼로다 다 동아다 자고도 세비 삼로디 리고바 되네게 삼다 되네 저게 수비 냠네 셴다 되네 사심자 탐지기도 다 산지고바 토바 제고도 삼제 때도 지나가 저게 도 삼다 림베 장이 제 삼당이 당이 되는 야기로 와딘 타이르와 안 되네게 땅세에 제래 안 되긴 아주 안 디야나 지게 셴샤다 랑샤다 잠니세세 제바나 제가 디소 규단 kiến 실을 뛰는 주범마도 규단 kiến 가라 마되바 직되는지 여러배 두에 민두스 제바 제야다 진짜 규단 kiến 마되바 자오네 요사 말에 민두와 선비게 삼다 아는 지도 동반이게 삼다 지리고와 안두스네 맞아 장도를 세워야 돼 삼로나라야 두스 장도를 세워야 돼 계침부 차야 돼 디레 맞주기다 가상다 디링기 다 로저 치기메디 거셔야 되게 된다 디레 되네자 다 가상 시교다 디레 시교다 세상에 되네기 시에디 양쪽에 야네 양도 딘데 손셔교디기 당하서 차상 야네 양도 삼는 땅고야다 디나신지는 가지고 배주 시어와야 돼 계침부 차고로 와다
Just to review then, the practice on equalizing and exchanging self with others, because this will encompass all that we've looked at over these four classes. So there are three steps to this meditation. The first is to reflect on the faults of the self-cherishing mind, recognizing within ourselves that it's through valuing ourselves first and foremost that all suffering comes. That it's from the self-cherishing mind that all the afflictions arise. And through the arisal of the afflictions we accumulate negative karma. And through the arisal of the afflictions we suffer now. Through the expression of this, others suffer now. Through the accumulation of negative karma we suffer in our future lives. And as we continue to remain ordinary beings trapped in samsara, we continue to bring harm to others in future lives too. So this is the first point, reflecting on the faults of the self-cherishing mind, seeing it as the source of our only enemy, the afflicted mind. Secondly, the second step of the meditation is to reflect then on the qualities, the benefits of the other cherishing mind. To cultivate the attitude that cherishes others first and foremost. This attitude is the source of all happiness. Through the cultivation of the other cherishing mind, we cultivate the basis for valuing others through reflecting on their kindness, giving rise to a sincere wish to repay their kindness. Here we can include the 4 steps of the meditation on the kindness of others that has been mentioned a few times. An independence on recalling the kindness of others comes about the wish to repay their kindness, and independence on that comes about love and compassion and bodhicitta. That entire stream of virtuous qualities comes about independent on the basis of the other cherishing mind. And so much virtue comes about through all these meditations. So reflecting like this leads to, reflecting on these first 2 of the 3 points, leads to the determination to guard our mind against the arisal of the self-cherishing mind and ensure that we're motivated by the other cherishing mind. And then, in the second step, the qualities or the benefits of the other cherishing mind, we can include the various meditations on the kindness of others, love, compassion, bodhicitta, and so forth. And then in the third step, we come to wisdom. How do phenomena appear to me? Do they exist in the way that they appear? When we see that they don't, we see how do they exist? And we can approach this, as was just mentioned, through the recollection on the emptiness of the three spheres. In whatever meditation we've engaged in, we see that the object of our meditation, perhaps suffering sentient beings, how do they appear? Do they exist in this way? Are they empty of existing that way that they appear? Are they dependent arisings? The second sphere, the mind that is meditating, say a mind of love, say a mind of compassion, how does this appear? Does it exist in that way? And then thirdly, the self, the meditator. How does my self-identity appear? Am I a meditator? Where is this? I am a meditator. And look for that. See if you can find that. In this way we come to see how phenomena appear to us. See they do not exist in the way they appear. They're illusory. Rather, no phenomena are independent, but all phenomena are dependent on others, such as causes, parts, and imputation. So these are the three steps. And if we engage in them repeatedly over a sustained period, as we experience progress, great joy will arise within us. And through this great joy and benefits we bring to the lives of others, we'll have the encouragement to continue in this meditation. And if we do so repeatedly over a sustained period, transformation will come about. So thank you very much. We'll conclude there for now. Thank you.